So hello everyone, hope you guys are doing absolutely amazing. So today we are going to start one new chapter, one new very easy chapter, but also very important chapter, which may cover up to 3 to 4 marks in your examination. And this chapter is e-way bill, which is electronic way bill. What is the meaning of e-way bill? Why this bill has been introduced, and what are the other conditions we are going to cover in this chapter? So first of all, what is this e-way bill? So whenever a goods is supplied from one place to another, or whenever a supplier sell any goods to recipient, generally earlier there was only one document which transporter or which Mr. Supplier has to issue, and that was tax invoice. But from now onwards, to increase more compliance and more accuracy, what has been introduced? One additional document has been introduced, which is e-way bill. It means that along with tax invoice, we also have to carry e-way bill. So basically, what is e-way bill? So e-way bill is a bill which is carried in addition to the tax invoice. In certain cases, what are the cases we are going to study right now in this chapter only? So this is a part of bill which contain two parts. Only first part is part A and second part is part B. So this is the e-way bill. Now we are jumping into the situation, and what it says, suppose Mr. Supplier is transporting some goods to Mr. Recipient. So can he transport on his own? So answer is no. He must be needing one vehicle. So either he can use his own vehicle, or he can hire a transporter. So suppose Mr. Supplier supplied the goods to the transporter, and then Mr. Transporter supplied the goods to the recipient. In this case, suppose Mr. Transport Supplier is located in MP, also Mr. Transporter is located in MP, but Mr. Recipient was situated in Jammu and Kashmir. So Mr. Supplier hired Mr. Transporter and said that, hey Mr. Transporter, please transport my goods to Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Transporter said, no problem, I will be transporting the goods to Mr. Recipient as per your direction. But give me the documents. What are the documents? So first of all, give me tax invoice. Give me tax invoice. I said, okay, I will give tax invoice to Mr. Recipient. But in addition to tax invoice, also give me e-way bill. Also give me e-way bill. So e-way bill is a basic requirement under GST. Now it says that who will issue e-way bill? Who will issue e-way bill? So it says that any person causing the movement of goods, any person causing the movement of goods can issue e-way bill. Suppose Mr. Recipient is causing the movement of goods, then Mr. Recipient can issue. Mr. Supplier is causing the movement of goods, then Mr. Supplier can issue the tax invoice, that is e-way bill. Now it says that suppose the supplier is unregistered. Yeah, in my case, supplier only initiated the movement of the goods. Is only responsible for generating the e-way bill. But Mr. Supplier is unregistered. He says that I am not responsible for registration under GST because I fall under that all limit. I have not crossed my 40 lakhs for a turnover. So now the question is, who will issue the e-way bill invoice? So government said that I will not exempt anyone in any cases. In case supplier is not unregistered, then the recipient shall be liable to issue. In case supplier and recipient both are unregistered, then liability arises on transporter. Hey transporter, you have to prepare the e-way bill. Now we will see our from notes. So what is an e-way bill? For any movement of the goods, one document is needed, which is called e-way bill. Who is responsible for generating the e-way bill? So whoever is responsible for causing the movement of goods is the person who is responsible for generating e-way bill. In case of supplier or recipient, whoever responsible can generate this e-way bill. In case of consignor and consignee, they have to issue the e-way bill. Now it says that suppose supplier is unregistered, then registered recipient shall be liable. Suppose both are unregistered, then transporter shall generate. Now few more things we have to see in this topic. Suppose if there is transportation by road, but no help is taken from transporter. Suppose I am Mr. Supplier and here is Mr. Recipient. Did not hire any transporter. I simply myself drove the truck and given the goods to Mr. Recipient. So in this case, there was my own convenience, or suppose there is hired also, or public convenience. So part A, who has to issue? Part A, registered person has to update, and part B also registered person has to update. But if I have hired a transporter in between, in this case part A I have to update, but part B I can assign to transporter that, hey transporter, you have to update the part B. Now it says that if there is transportation by railways, airways or vesselways, then part A is also registered person has to update, and part B also registered person have to update. Now there is one catch, and it says that suppose if you are transporting goods by roadways, then you have to update part B before the movement of goods. It means before the movement of the goods you only have to update the part B. But if you are transporting the goods in any ways other than roadways, suppose airways, vesselways or railways, then it is not compulsory that you have to issue invoice or update invoice before. You can even update this part B after the commencement of movement. So this was our first topic. Now what next topic says? It says that when you have to update e-way bill, when you have to generate e-way bill, we have seen that who have to generate e-way bill. Now we are going to see that when it is compulsory. So it says that if the value of the goods which you are supplying exceeds for 50,000, if it exceeds 50,000, then liability to issue e-way bill arises. Now keep in mind that in everywhere in GST we see that this amount is exclusive of GST, but in this e-way bill chapter, only in the single chapter, the limit of 50,000 is inclusive of GST. Suppose your invoice is of 48,000 and your GST is of 3,000. So we will see limit of 50,000 by adding this both, which is an invoice value. This is that taxable value plus GST. So we will say that 51 is the total value inclusive of GST. It means that applicability arises on this person. Now it says that first case we have seen that the if the value of the goods exceeds 50,000, then you have to issue the e-way bill. But in certain cases, even if the value is less than 50,000, then also requirement for e-way bill arises. What are these two conditions? First of all, there is interstate movement to job worker. And second condition is interstate supply by handicraft supplier. It means that I am supplying any goods to my job worker, or suppose, and the value of goods is suppose 20,000. Then too, if I am doing the interstate supply, I have to generate e-way bill. Second condition, that handicraft supplier. Now we'll see from our notes when it is required to be generated. E-way bill is mandatory in case of movement of goods if the consignment value is greater than 50,000, and even if consignment value is less than 50,000. In these two cases you have to issue invoice, this e-way bill. First is interstate movement to job worker, and second is interstate movement by handicraft supplier. This is irrespective of consignment value. Keep in mind that consignment value is equal to value of supply, which is inclusive of GST, but you don't have to consider exempt supply. Generally, prior to movement, but its transportation is other than roadways, that e-way bill may be generated even after commencement of movement. Now our next question is where to generate e-way bill. So it says that in obviously in gst.gov.in online mode we have to generate in GST EWB 01. How you have to upload? By uploading part A and part B. Part A consists of basically transactions details, and part B contains details of transporter. It means that where, just tell me where vehicle number of truck is included, in part A or part B. So answer is part B. Why? Because transportation detail are included in part B. Now it says that there are some cases when no e-way bill is required to be issued. So it says that where you are supplying goods where you are supplying goods of, just a minute. Yes. So when EV bill is not required, EV bill is not required in certain cases. And what are the certain cases? GM Dentech. GM stand for General Manager. General Manager of Dentech company. This is the cheat code. What stand for G? If you are supplying goods, which are in the nature of LPG, kerosene, postal package, pearls, precious stone, jewelries, other articles, currency, used personal stuff, effect, and corals. So in this cases you are not required to generate EV bill, even if the value of the goods exceed 50,000. But there is one exception, and this exception is amendment. There are many chances that in this attempt this question is going to come. Except imitation jewelry, that is, in case of imitation jewelry, EV bill is required. Acha, just tell me one thing. What we have studied, that in every case where value of supply goods exceed value of movement exceed 50,000, EV bill is required, but in some cases EV bill is not required. And what are these cases? These are cases GM Dentech. In this GM Dentech, we have read that in case of certain goods, EV bill is not required, and one point is that in case of jewelry, it was not required. But again, exception came that if the jewelry is imitation jewelry, then you have to issue EV bill. Why? Because if you are issuing in EV bill in case of original jewelry, there are many risks that you are uploading the transported detail in the portal. So there is a type of risk. That's why it says that original jewelry, and so you don't have to you don't have to issue EV bill. But these are the duplicate jewelry, imitation jewelry. Then there is no risk area. There is no sensitivity issue. It means that you have to issue the EV bill. Next thing. In case of M means mode. So if you are transporting goods by non-motor vehicle, that means bullock cart or something like that, by this animal wala part, so you don't have to issue EV bill. Next thing, if any goods are transported by defense mechanism or by defense personnel, then no EV bill is required. Why? Because this is a concern of security. These are the sensitive matters. Next thing, E for empty cargo. If empty cargo is being transported. N for if that transportation is not a supply, or that is exempted, or that is not supply under Schedule 3 of the GST Act, which you might have already read. So if it is not a supply, then no need to issue. T for transit cargo from or to Nepal or Bhutan. E for exempted good. C for under custom seal, and H for heavy water and nuclear fuel. So these are the cases where no EV bill is required. Supply of heavy water and nuclear fuel by Department of Atomic Energy. So these were the cases where you don't need to issue EV bill. Now what is the circular? This is the amendment. If goods are transited through another state while moving from one area to another in the same state, interstate stock movement. So basically, meaning of this part is that if you are supplying goods from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, so in these cases, there might be chances that it is obvious that you will pass through hell lot of state. You will pass through 11 state. So do you need to prepare 11 EV bill? So it says no. You just have to prepare one EV bill itself. And what? So now next discussion is, what is the validity of EV bill? It means that suppose I have generated EV bill today. So can I transport my goods to recipient after 1 week? I have generated, law says that you have to generate EV bill. Sir, I have generated EV bill. Now can I supply my goods to my recipient after 1 week? So answer is no. There is some validity of the EV bill. And what is this validity? That suppose you have generated EV bill today, and distance from this supplier to recipient is less than 200 kilometer. Suppose it is 180 kilometers, then validity of the EV bill will be 1 day. But suppose this distance is 250 kilometer, so then it says that it will be 1 day for 200 kilometer and plus 1 day for another 200 kilometer plus 1 day from another 200 kilometer. So in this case, validity will be 2 days. Suppose now my distance is 500 kilometer. So for first 200 kilometer 1 day, next 200 kilometer 1 day, and next 200 kilometer again 1 day. So it means that I have 3 days. My validity is 3 days. But in case of over-dimensional cargo and in the case of multimodal shipment, this 200 kilometer is going to be replaced by 20 kilometers. This 200 kilometer is going to be replaced by 20 kilometer. Sir, what do we mean by multimodal transport? So suppose, just a minute. Okay, suppose you are going to transport from this place to this place, but for some distance you need to transport it by road, some distance you need to transport it by air. For the other part, you have to operate, you have to supply this by water. It means you are transporting through multi modes. It means this is multimodal transport. So this limit has been reduced to 20 kilometers. See, what is validity of e-way bill? ODC and MMT, it is 20 kilometer, up to 20 kilometers, so it is 1 day. And for another additional 20 kilometer plus one plus one plus one, we are going to add that. But if it is other than ODC and MMT, so it is up to 200 kilometer, validity is going to be 1 day. Now, just keep in mind one thing, that what from where we are going to see 1 day. Suppose on 14th March, on 14 March, this is 12 in the midnight. I have issued e-way bill here, suppose on 1 a.m. in the midnight. So my counting of this 24-hour counting of this 1 day is going to be start from next 12 a.m. From next 12 a.m. So next 12 a.m. wali midnight. So suppose I have generated e-way bill here. So my 1 day validity is going to be started from here, and 1 day validity is going to be ended here. Now suppose what I did, I issued one e-way bill, suppose in 11:30 p.m. in the night, 11:30 p.m. in the night of 14th March. So my 24-hour counting will start from next 12 a.m. wala midnight. So next 12 a.m. wala midnight is this 15th wala midnight. So I will count 24 hour from this 15th wala midnight, which is going to be midnight 12 a.m. of 15 to 16. One good example is given in module. You can just refer that also. Now let's jump to the next discussion. And what is this discussion? We have seen that there are two parts of e-way bill, part A and part B. So part A, it says that whenever a business is doing a business, his responsibility is to pay tax, his responsibility is to pay GST return. And whenever a business is doing a businessman is doing the business, obviously he will transport the goods through this road wala mode or transportation wala mode. So government said that if you are a bad person, it means you have not filed your returns for 2 consecutive periods, we are not going to allow you to generate e-way bill. So if you are not, if you are debarred from generated e-way bill, it means your business is going to be hampered. So this is one very smart game with government, which government has played. So it says that if you are a composition dealer and you have not filed return for 2 consecutive periods or 2 consecutive quarters, then you cannot file generate this part of the e-way bill. But if you are a normal person and you have not filed GST return for 2 months or GST R1 for 2 months, that means that you are debarred from generating part A of e-way bill. Now next question is, if part B mandatory? So I will say that part B is mandatory for everyone who is generating e-way bill. But in some cases, part B, in some cases, you are exempted from generating part B. It means if you give only part A of the e-way bill, then government is satisfied. What are these cases? There are two cases. In first case, where the supplier is transporting goods to transporter and the distance is up to 50 kilometer, no part B required. In second case, transporter is supplying goods to the receiver and the distance is up to 50 kilometers, then also no e-way bill is required. And in third cases, suppose the goods is going for weighment, and that weighing machine is only 20 kilometer far away from my place of business. That means that weighing machine is only less than 20 kilometers. Okay. So restriction on furnishing information in part A. Composition supplier not furnished CMP08 for two quarters. Other supplier not furnished return or GST 1 for 2 months. Now, or one more case where person whose registration has been suspended. Now, is part B mandatory? So I would say yes, it is mandatory, but in certain cases it is exempt. Movement to transporter. It means that I am Mr. Supplier and here is Mr. Transporter. So movement to supplier is only up to 50 kilometers. Then only part is required, but it is more than 50 kilometers, suppose 60 kilometers, then both part is required. Now from movement of goods from transporter to receiver or consignee, again distance is up to 50 kilometers, only part is required, but more than 50 kilometers, both part is required. And sent to weighbridge, if distance is up to 20 kilometers, only delivery challan is required, not even part is required. And if this weighbridge is more than 20 kilometers, then both delivery challan and e-way bill is required. So this we have completed the most important part of e-way bill. Some other parts which are read-only parts are also remaining. We are going to see it directly from the notes, but most important parts which there are 90% chances that examiner is going to ask from this part only. So this we have guys finished. Now we will jump into some other discussions, some more part. Just a second. Okay. Now, very small topics are left. What is the RD? We are going to cover each and every one. First of all, what are the consequences if e-way bill is not generated? So it says that you have to pay penalty. What is the penalty? First of all, penalty is 10,000 rupees under CGST Act or amount of tax evaded, whichever is higher. Just keep in mind that this 10,000 limit is only under CGST Act, and total liability would be 20,000, that is CGST plus SGST. But in exam you have to write that and this 10,000 or tax evaded, whichever is higher, and also detention or seizure of the goods by, or conveyance by the proper officer in charge. Next thing, what are the documents and devices which are compulsory to be kept by transporter? That is, what all documents the transporter has to keep. So very first thing which we have seen was invoice or bill of supply or delivery challans. Next thing is e-way bill, and next thing is bill of entry in case of import. But keep in mind, this is compulsory for roadways. If the person is traveling by railways or airways or vessel, so e-way bill is not required. E-way bill is not required to be physically carried. It means that in case of these three cases, only invoice, bill of supply, delivery challan or bill of entry, no e-way bill is required. Now the situation is, suppose you were traveling by, or your transporter was traveling by road. Here proper officer detains your goods and it says, hey, stop. Now you just show me all the goods and show me all the documents whether you are in compliance or GST law or not. So now we are going to see what if our proper officer stops the vehicle. So first of all, authorized officer or inspector authorized by commissioner will check the documents and conveyance. Now next thing, what all things he will do? First, if he now checks the vehicle, so he has to given summary report. He has to give him summary report in EWB 03 part A in 24 hours and final report within 3 days, or there may be 3 days ka extension on permission from his senior. So what we have seen that first of all he stopped us, he have checked all the documents and all the goods he have also seen. So he have to submit summary report and final report. Summary report within 24 hours and the final report within 3 days. Now it says that suppose that proper officer is detaining you for more than 30 minutes. So what you can do, you can transporter may upload the information in EWB 04 that this officer has detained me for 1 hour or 2 hours. Now it says that suppose you were there may be cases that your vehicles get broke down or there is some accident or something. So what can we do? So first of all, we have seen that validity of this e-way bill is 1 day in case of 200 kilometers, or another 1 day in case of another 200 kilometer. So there is time bound specified. But what if my truck goes breakdown, or it is caught under some accident? So it says that you can ask extension within 8 hours. It means that after expiry of your e-way bill, you can apply for extension of your e-way bill, properly quoting the reason that my truck is going to be repaired, or I am at some accident or something like that. Now it says that suppose you are going to change the truck. Suppose it met an accident and truck was in a very bad condition, so you need to shift your goods from one truck to another truck. But in e-way bill document part B, truck number is also mentioned. So what will I do? So it says that you have to update your truck number. You have to update part B. You have to update part B, and then only you can continue your movement. Suppose this was your journey. Here your truck caught an accident. So you are shifting your truck's good from this truck 1 to truck 2. But in your e-way bill which you generated earlier, details of this wala truck is reflecting in the portal. So it says that simply you have to update truck detail. You can update this truck detail n number of time wherever. Suppose here also your truck get breakdown, here also your truck caught an accident. So n number of time you can update easily this part B detail. Breakdown transshipment on conveyance of same transporter, update part B, different transporter, then transporter can easily update part B. Now what other basic points? Some other basic points are, suppose transporter may generate consolidated e-way bill in GST EVB 02 for separate e-way bills. So first of all, I have to generate one e-way bill for one invoices. It means if I have 10 invoices, then I have to generate 10 e-way bill. So for transporter, it will be very difficult to carry 10 e-way bills. So what he can do? So there is one option to the transporter that you can prepare one consolidated e-way bill and keep aside that 10 e-way bill wala 10 invoice wala e-way bill. So just prepare one consolidated e-way bill. So this is one exemption. This is one facility given. Now it says that once you have generated your e-way bill, what is the time limit to cancel the e-way bill? So e-way bill may be cancelled within 24 hours of the generation of the e-way bill or before being verified. Suppose you have generated e-way bill here, so you can cancel anywhere. You can cancel anytime before 24 hours or before being verified by the officer. Suppose in this 12th hour only your goods are being verified. Now you say no, I am going to cancel this e-way bill. So this is not possible. Your case is open now. Your proper officer have caught you. It means that now you cannot change. Now it says that e-way bill can be generated voluntary. If you wish that my goods value does not exceed 50,000, then too I want to do compliance. So government has said that you can do over compliance. You can prepare e-way bill. Now e-way bill generated in one state is valid in another state also. It means that my goods are traveling from Jammu Kashmir to Kanyakumari. I need not to change my e-way bill in every state. One e-way bill is sufficient. So this is the full chapter which we have covered. Very easy chapter and very important for our examination. Now we are going to see some of the questions which are asked in past year examination. So now we have completed our chapter. Now we will see some past year question paper. So this is question paper of January 2021 and question is question number 7B. It says that Agni Limited, a registered supplier, wishes to transport a cargo by road between two cities situated at a distance of 368 km. Calculate the validity of e-way bill under normal rule and OCD. So it says that my validity is 368 kilometers. Just a second. Okay. So my validity is, it says 368 kilometer. I have to calculate my number of validity days. So if it says that if it is OCD wala case, over dimensional वाला case, so up to 20 kilometer it's 1 day validity. But is other than over dimensional वाला case or multimodal transport, then up to 200 kilometer my validity will be 1 day. So I have to cover 368 kilometers. So if I see this over dimensional wala case, so up to 20 kilometer it will be 1 day, up to again 20 kilometers it will be 1 day. So on day 18th my kilometers come to be 360, but my actual kilometers are 368. It means I have got validity of one extra day. So it will be 18 days plus 1 day, that is going to be 19 days. How you have to see? You have to see one easy trick I am going to give. Suppose you have 368 kilometers, just divided by 20. It comes to be 18 point something something something. So your validity will be 19 days, one extra wala part. I am just going to repeat this part again. Suppose you have to cover 368 kilometers. So you are going to see that what is my validity for 368 kilometers. So answer says that for every 20 kilometers you are going to get 1 day. So up to this 20 kilometer 1 day, up to this 20 kilometer again second day I got, for this 20 kilometer I have got third day, for this 20 kilometer fourth day. So up to this 18th day I can cover 360 kilometer, but I have got 368 kilometers, so one additional day I am getting, that means 19 days I am getting. Now again, if this is other than over dimensional wala case, so for every 200 kilometer I am getting 1 day. So for first 200 kilometers 1 day, for next 200 kilometers 1 day. It means my 368 kilometer is lying here, that means I am getting 2 days validity. You don't have to see this solution which is written as this part, because this is outdated. Now your provisions are updated. What it says? It says that validity of Eway bill for transport by road between 260 368 kilometer, it was 368. If over dimensional cargo, for every 20 kilometer or thereafter there is one additional day, hence validity period will be 1 day plus 18 days, this is 19 days. This is right, but this is wrong, 4 days. Why? Because earlier the limit was 100 kilometer, which has been updated to 200 kilometers. So in our question it will be 2 days. Now next question. Now we are going to see May 22 का 7th question. May 22 7th question. What it says? One consolidated e-way bill can be generated for multiple invoice. Comment on this part. So I have already explained you that for one invoice, one e-way bill has to be generated, but for multiple e-way bill, one consolidated e-way bill can be generated. Sir, what you said? For one invoice, one e-way bill. But for multiple e-way bills, one consolidated e-way bill can be made. But you cannot make one e-way bill for multiple invoices. See question of this answer. What is 7th B? The statement is invalid. Why? Because multiple invoices cannot be clubbed to generate one e-way bill. If multiple invoices are issued by the supplier, for movement of such goods, multiple e-way bill has to be generated. Thus, for each invoice, one e-way bill has to be generated irrespective of the fact that same or different consigners are involved. However, after generating multiple e-way bills, these can be consolidated to one consolidated e-way bill. Now, we are going to November 22 question paper. And what it says? It asks that Mr. Sapur Enterprise made an interstate supply of taxable goods valued at 47,500 and exempted good 2,000, and GST rate was 6%. Determine whether you are going to issue e-way bill or not. So I have very well explained you that what is the meaning of consignment value. It includes GST, but it excludes exempted good. So what is your value of total taxable value? So it is 47,500. It is 47,500. Just ignore exempted wala part plus 6% GST, which comes to be 50,350. It means yes, I am liable for this preparation of e-way bill. See answer. In the given case, consignment value of the goods including GST but excluding the value of exempt supply is 50,350. Since there is movement of goods of consignment value exceeding 50,000, you are going to mandatorily issue invoices. This is very well given in your notes. You can just again check from your notes. Now, next question we are going to see is May 23. What it says? It says that, just a second. When goods are transferred by principal to job worker, there is no need to issue Eway bill. So again, this is wrong. Comment on the validity of the statement. So it is not wrong. We have seen that first of all, compulsorily Eway bill has to be issued in case value of consignment exceed 50,000. But in some cases, even if value is less than 50,000, then too also you have to issue this Eway bill. And there were two cases, out of which one case was that if you are supplying goods from principal to job worker. This statement is not valid when the goods are transferred by principal to job worker. Eway bill is required to be mandatorily issued in case of interstate transfer if the consignment value 50,000 exceed, and in case of interstate transfer, irrespective of the value of consignment. So these were the questions which we have seen. These were the questions or exam question which we have seen, and everything is covered in your notes. Just see this video of 40 to 45 minutes and easily you can recall in your examination. I hope I am very clear till here. Let's close for today. So goodbye. Take care.